One of the greatest dangers of studying not only about pedagogy and what most courses cover is that teaching is centered on the figure of the teacher. They are the ones who must teach all the content. This is very applicable for early childhood education, in which we have children who need to be guided. Heutagogy is the instructional strategy of emphasizing the development of autonomy of the learner. By creating an heutagogical content, you aid the students to guide his or her own learning process instead of giving a predetermined fixed path. You aid them in coming up with questions and seeking for answers. Thinking about heutagogy will help you create content that students can reframe on their own and use on a daily basis. It also avoids having to come up with so many examples and models for each case. You will create a general model that can be interpreted. Adults in the job market mainly encounter barriers and want to solve them in a practical way. For that, they resort to more direct content. For the vast majority, frameworks and models in which they can apply in different situations are very useful. That's why we see so many cases of canvases, value proposition, business canvas, and the like, and that's spin selling, band models, and so on. All of these tools and frameworks that explain a concept and can be applied to the most diverse situations. To do this, you have to base ourselves on four principles, the two S and two A's of heutagogy. First, scope. The content can be applied in known and unknown scenarios. That is, it is not super specific. With its content, the students can learn the basic principles and remember it when a new situation appears, as opposed to models that can only be applied to scenarios of the moment. Two, second, self-reflection. The content promotes reflection on the subject. The opposite of that would be content that has only one way to do it, like hammering a nail. This is an instruction. You take the hammer in a specific position and apply force against the wall. The student does not only think about the example in question, but he or she reflects on what they are learning, which is called metacognition. Three, attitudinal. For it to work, the student must the content must stimulate the students to reflect on his or her own behavior, in addition to his or her knowledge. In other words, the student will learn technical content, but they will also learn holistically, changing their behavior and attitudes towards certain things. Fourth principle is autonomy. Finally, one of the central principles of heutagogy is that it's not necessarily linear. The students can approach it from different angles. A quick example is this course you are taking. It started with some simple concepts to level the knowledge, but you can do it like in any order and explore what catches your attention the most. To create content that facilitates heutagogy, it's important to understand, of course, instructional design to create models that can be applied in different contexts. There are specific questions through you can validate whether the two S ways of heutagogy have been applied, but the basic premise is to create content that the reader can self-service. If you notice well, even the 2S2A follow its principles.